So what does a media bar actually do in 2024? Is there even anything left for them to do on a given day basis? Well, I want to share with you what I think a media bar should be doing on a day-to-day. What is their role now within the team? Who should they be collaborating with? And all in all, what does a pod structure look like at paidadvertising.com, right? A pod for me is a unit of team. So with that said, let's get straight into it. Now, let me first start by defining what is my current team structure. So I've got my right hand, which is our client services director. She acts as a mix between a project manager and a strategist, if you want. So kind of helps out the team, helps out essentially strategy, reviews some of the things that the creative strategist does. And I just think of her as the glue between all the departments I have at the agency, right? So then I have my creative strategist, which is the person that researches the ad concepts, that creates the concept headline, creates the body of the ads, creates the hook, finds out all the ad inspiration that feeds to our ad editors, who are then going to take action and create an ad from this concept. So creative strategist is the one doing the concepts. Then I have my performance manager. A performance manager is working more over the strategies. She's basically the link between my creative strategist and my media bar. So what her role is for the most part is she's going to direct to the media bar like what he should be doing. So what strategies we want to implement, what do we want to see from the clients. If she needs any data from the accounts, she's going to request a full data report or analysis from the media bar. And then from there, on the flip side, she's going to feed some of that data, feed some of those learnings to our creative strategist. She's also going to recommend kind of new plans of actions and recommend things to our clients in general to help them improve the business. Would it be website improvements? Would it be slightly modifying the offer? Would it be extending to a new channel, or any kind of tests that we'd want to do with the accounts? She'd usually be ideating those. As you can see, I say the word she a lot. We just have a lot of women part of our team at paidadvertising.com. So great to see that. It's funny, actually. I've had different stages in our team. I think when I started, I attracted a lot more men, and then started having more women kind of coming in, and now we're about half, I'd say, the team. So anyways, little tangent right there. But to get back to the video, our media bar now, what does he actually do on a day-to-day basis? Well, what he does is, one, reporting. So he's usually going to crunch down some of the numbers asked by the performance manager, and is going to apply some of these numbers into either a Google Sheet or a Google Doc to basically show us an analysis of how each of the accounts are doing. He's also going to help updating our creative report sheets on the research center that we call, which essentially tells us whether or not an ad concept that we launched has performed. So that way, once again, a creative strategist can kind of look back at that sheet and see what concepts she has made that ended up becoming winners on a given ad account. Now, our media bar also is the one that's usually going to do the changes on the account. So do any of the optimizations, perhaps launch new campaigns, turn off old campaigns, make sure everything is scheduled and properly set up according to the client criteria. So I use ClickUp internally as my project management dashboard, which we have essentially what I call the client dashboard. Every client is listed there as a task, and under each client, under the task description, we have a list of client particularities, which are things that are proper to the client in itself. Could be things such as like branding restrictions, or words they want or not want to have in the copy, perhaps certain placements they want to appear differently. So again, every client has their own little quirks, so we just want to make sure that we respect that, which is why essentially the media bar can either ask the performance manager, ask other team members, or perhaps just look into your client dashboard and find any client particularities right there. For me, at least, my media bar plays more of an executionary role. So it is someone that I need to be analytical. It also needs to be somebody who's very logical with his decision making. But ultimately speaking, it is somebody who's going to go into the accounts and just apply the changes to it, right? So I'm reading in front of me right now as an example of a report from my performance manager sent to my media bar, kind of telling him, hey, ad account number 1, I need you to look at those following DCTs that we have and move some of those into an Advantage Plus campaign that we have. Account number 2, I need you to make a new Advantage Plus campaign. Pick that pixel. We're testing a new pixel right now. Here's why. And essentially, ad account number 3 right now, I need you to launch a tests ad set right here, as well as launch DCT number 18, 19, 20, and 21 on this account. Adjust the budgets, etc. Right? So that's basically it. Really, for me, it's somebody who can just come into the account and execute. I'm usually going to look for a junior position when bringing on a media bar. Now, the pathway for me is a media bar could eventually become a performance manager, right? They could become somebody now who directs or plays more of a strategic role in the decision making of the accounts. But that said, when I personally hire a media bar, I'm looking for somebody who had maybe 10, 20, 30, let's say about $100,000 or so in ad spend under their name, so that they know their way around the account. They know their way around the ad platforms. They won't ask questions such as like, what's a pixel or what's an ad account, right? They know the basics, but they also don't have crazy experience, which makes them perfect essentially for this role. Usually, you know, we manage a very good size budget at paidadvertising.com, about $5.5 million a year on Meta. So for me, it's giving a chance essentially to someone who really wants to learn the ropes of ads, especially move in the future in a strategic position. And that's the perfect, job for somebody who potentially can go from 100K in managed ad spend to just jump all the way up to 5 million in ad spend if they stick with us for about a year. One of the purpose behind this video is because, one, I think that if you're a brand or business owner and you are still working with the quote unquote media buying agency, look, I don't really know what to tell you. Like at this point, there's not much they can really do for you besides kind of maintaining the account and, doing a couple structural changes, but you need this either creative involvement or strategic involvement at least, right? One or the other. But if it's purely media buying alone, like just launching ads, then in that sense, again, they're very dependent on your organic. They're very dependent on your thinking. They're very dependent on the strategy that you want to implement, which means a lot of the pressure is put back on you. Therefore, you can't compensate them as much as you would with a partner that takes care of creatives, right? I keep saying that, but creative is the new targeting. For me, at least, anybody who plays a strategic or creative role is either going to be compensated more or is either going to be worth more because they produce more results at the end of the day. As simple as that. And I'm also imploring, because I know that about half of the audience is marketers, media buyers, or perhaps even agency owners. But if that is you, then don't just offer media buying, right? Seriously, media buying in itself is becoming like less and less important to the account. I don't think it's ever going to fully disappear. There's always going to be a need for somebody to come into the account and do campaign tweaks. But should that be the highest level position? Absolutely not. 5 years or so ago, that probably was the highest paid position at an agency. Now, again, it's either somebody that has, call it a creative strategist, call it a whatever you want. That person usually is somebody who is worth more in terms of the dollars that they bring back or the impact they have on an account, and or somebody in a strategic position. Really, one or the other right now is what's worth the most to a business. Now, to kind of wrap things up, the daily plan roughly of my media bar looks like something like this. He'll come in the morning. Usually is going to be something around reporting or updating numbers. So either updating the client sheet that we have or updating essentially the research center that we have with some of the creatives that have worked or didn't work and the reasons why. Then usually he's going to get into like campaign approval process. So basically pre-launch campaigns and then have them being QA'd by our performance manager. Usually then it's going to go into like a full creative rundown. So we do like a report every week that we feed our creative strategist that is like all the ad creatives that work the best for different accounts, the reasoning behind that, so that she can take that and go and make more of these ads. Then, and I'm looking right now at the plan of the day currently for our media bar, launching graveyard campaigns for a couple of our accounts. Every 3 months or so, we're usually going to launch graveyard campaigns for some of our accounts where all the creatives that either didn't perform in the last 3 months or creatives that didn't really get a lot of ad spend, we're going to throw into a campaign and give them a last final shot at seeing whether or not they're going to succeed instead of making new creatives, right? I kind of do the same thing. Full transparency, I use cold email marketing to acquire clients at paidadvertising.com. Now, I do get a lot of new leads every month from my prospecting team. Well, every 3 months, I'm usually going to go back over the last 3 months, see who has opened one of my emails, who has clicked on one of my links, who has viewed one of my videos. And these people, if they have not replied or at least not expressed a disinterest in the message, I'll hit them again with the final campaign as kind of a last shot at seeing if they can convert. Same thing with ads, right? Yes, you might have put a lot of time into a creative. You might have launched it. It barely got any ad spend. It didn't work as great as you expected. Or perhaps, again, the end result just isn't what you wanted. Well, you can either throw it away, move on and do something else, or which I recommend you do in the short term, but in the long term, again, about 3 months or so, we're just going to see, hey, can I revive those? Last chance. And if it doesn't work after that graveyard campaign, and great, we're just going to call it a day and then we won't ever reuse that same creative concept. But I'm telling you, about 20% or so of the creatives that I will put into a graveyard campaign will be revived. Like those start working essentially, which is kind of why I call it a graveyard campaign. And then finally, usually at the end of the day, we'll have our media bar do optimizations for the evening. So just making sure all the accounts are good and healthy. And then the rest restarts the next day. So this is actually what a media bar does in 2024. I wholeheartedly believe that if anybody is watching that as a media bar itself, or again, runs an agency, works with the media buying team or whatnot, if they're doing more than any of the executionary tasks that I just mentioned, then they're not just a media bar, right? They're more of a performance manager. They're more of a strategist, call it whatever you want. Now, media buying in itself can be defined in kind of 3 core areas or tasks, which is optimization, reporting, as well as campaign launching and account recommendation. So that's kind of it in general. Yeah, if you do want to learn more in depth about our ways of doing research, how we plan out our creatives, also check out a link down below and join our free school community to learn more. With that said, if you're listening to this video as an e-commerce brand owner and you want to work with a paid ads partner on Meta, TikTok, and or Google, then also check out a link down below and book in a call to speak with our team today. On that note, make sure you check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.